Everyone, Music by John Williams is a new Disney Plus documentary that celebrates the life and career of this legendary composer. While the film highlights John Williams as one of the most influential composers of the 20th and 21st centuries, there are a couple issues with the production that undermine its impact and don't do full justice to establishing his place in musical history. And I love John Williams, so that kind of bothered me. So let's get into it. But first, please do give this review a thumbs up and subscribe for more because there are more coming. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, so this documentary, it chronicles John Williams' musical journey, giving this inside look at his family life and his professional life and his work and also his military service through the stories that John himself shares, as well as those stories from his close friends and colleagues within the film and music industries. So, from scoring, like, I didn't realize, I mean, I love John Williams, but I actually didn't realize just how much this guy produced in his lifetime. And, he scored everything from the Olympic fanfare, which I did know about, to NBC's Sunday Night Football, which I didn't know about, to films like Star Wars, which of course I knew about, Schindler's List, Harry Potter, and so many others, as well as television shows like Gilligan's Island and Lost in Space, which again I did not know about. How did I not know about these things? It's amazing. So, John Williams' influence on modern society and popular culture, it is unmistakable. And that's exactly what this documentary captures in a very targeted way. And, I got to say that the documentary, it doesn't just cover his upbringing. Sorry, I'm super thirsty and I need my coffee this morning. I can't live without coffee. So now you know something about me you didn't know 5 minutes ago. All right, so this documentary, it really doesn't cover just his upbringing and his accomplishments. It also gets into his writing processes, which I find super fascinating. Like how music and film work together to deepen that visual impact of the story as it unfolds on screen. It also highlights his work ethic and how he composed his scores across so many different musical genres. It's incredible. And John Williams' music, it isn't just background sound. No, it is not. It is often part of the characters within the film. And this is an effect that I see a lot in films, but I never really thought about it. Like when I'm criticizing or critiquing a film, I'm looking at a lot of things and I include the soundtrack as well, but I don't really think about themes specific to each character and how those themes interact with the film. That's just a level that I haven't paid as close attention to until this documentary. And, in some cases, his characters, of course, have themes of their own that are so strong that they become part of the characters themselves. And so the characters sometimes don't even need to be on the screen for the audience to feel their presence. And one really good example of that is the shark in Jaws. And when you hear that music, when you hear that dun 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 dun, that music is the shark's character. And Steven Spielberg in this documentary, he even makes the joke that they were able to fix his broken shark with John Williams music, illustrating the profound impact that the music has on the story. So, music by John Williams, it really does explore how he broke down musical barriers, basically winning over the masses like you and me, as well as the classically trained kind of posh musicians from cellist Yo-Yo Ma to violinist and Sophie Mutter and so many more. And to do that, because you don't win them over in his level, you don't win them over unless you can demonstrate an intimate working knowledge of each instrument to bring out that right selection of notes, that right selection of chords in order to convey the energy and emotion of everything we are seeing and not seeing on screen. And they do a really great job in this film of capturing his process, including how he manually like creates his music. He hears it, he plays it, he writes it down with his hand. Like there's no computer involved, like not. It's all a manual process, which in this day and age is really quite significant. And I think I don't know. I think it gives you such an intimate connection with the process that you're working with when you can get tactile with that element that you're working in. And he has this uncanny ability to hear the essence of life and then to translate that essence into music that evokes things like fear and dread, joy and laughter. His music embodies this sense of movement, and it's so vivid that you can almost feel like what it's like to fly or run or swim just from the sounds you are hearing. As a result, the music he creates has the innate ability to just pull you into the story, making it impossible to imagine the films that John has scored with any other music than his own. And I literally cannot imagine Star Wars without those iconic opening notes as the prologue begins scrolling. A significant part of the documentary relates to his friendships with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and the impact that these three men had on each other's lives and on their careers. There is a deep and powerful friendship there, and the stories they shared, they are intimate, showcasing how their bonds contributed to some of the most significant collaborations in film history. The structure of the film avoids that rigid linear format that we often see in documentaries. And I find that format just so uncomfortable. It just bores me to death. Instead, this documentary shifts by topic, touching on the people and the influences who impacted John Williams most and his development as a musician and as a composer and as a conductor. And the intertwining narratives of the film, they show how his musical styles really evolved while generally kind of moving us through his career. The structure did a really good job of enhancing key moments in the film, like the emotional story of when Steven Spielberg and his wife, Kate Capshaw, I can never say her name right, Kate Capshaw, I always want to say Cape Capshaw. Anyways, Kate Capshaw. When they first heard the theme for Schindler's List. So they sat there. So they went to John Williams' house and he played the key melody for them as they stood quietly by the side of his piano. And the way the documentary just kind of pulls that scene together with the dialogue and the footage and the music, it is masterful. And it actually brought tears to my eyes. But let's be honest, I do cry at everything, including commercials. So there is that. What can I say? Despite all the good in the film, and I only barely touch the surface, few films are perfect. And honestly, this documentary is no exception. In fact, it opens with a series of people paying tribute to John Williams. It's really beautiful, but none of them are identified with lower thirds, which is honestly one of my pet peeves. Anyway, while I get what they were trying to do, I get that they wanted to open the film by keeping the focus firmly on John Williams, the absence of names backfired because it drew too much attention to the speakers and away from John, as I wondered how they could possibly make such an obvious mistake. And they did add the lower thirds after the opening credits, but by then, the impact was already spoiled. They already ruined the opening for me. The second issue with the documentary is its very, very narrow focus, which limits the mention of his musical influences to only the people who are primarily within the film industry. As a result, Aaron Copland, the most significant classical composer in American history, and who is obviously an influence on John Williams, wasn't mentioned. There is a chance that, hey, maybe I simply missed the reference, but I don't think so. I don't think he was included. And it feels like a directorial choice not to mention Copland because they didn't want to take attention away from John Williams. The effect is that the omission does exactly the thing that they were trying to avoid. And this is the second time in the film that it was super obvious that they were doing something like this. And by doing that, for any viewer with any kind of general knowledge about classical music, viewers who are the target audience for this film, it's going to stand out to them. And it's another example of Disney's executive team not understanding their target audience for stories that involve anything to do with Star Wars. It was a huge mistake, especially considering that John Williams faced so much pressure when he became the conductor of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. That wasn't an easy transition for him, and the musicians in the orchestra did not make it easy for him. There was a lot of drama and problems, and he really had to confront that. And I think that he did that by overcoming their fears that he was just that soundtrack guy. And he did it by proving to them that he had the chops. He knew the stuff. He was Aaron Copland's, literally his equal in that moment. And he's definitely grown into that space on a global stage. And by not including Aaron Copland, they really diminish John Williams' kind of place in the overall field of classical music, which is really frustrating. Overall, I really enjoyed the documentary, minus the flaws that clearly got under my skin. If you enjoy John Williams' music and the films that he scored over the decades of his career, I have a feeling that you will enjoy this documentary as well. It's a reminder of the profound impact that John Williams' music has had on cinema and on the stories we love and on us. Have you watched music by John Williams? What are your favorite scores by this musical legend? I'd love to hear your thoughts on how his music has impacted you. Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos because there, again, are more coming. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Happy viewing, everyone, and bye for now. I'll see you later.